Hello YouTube. We have a 2007 Honda Accord here, and we have another video on how to debug if you have a DTC 0171. But after that DTC, we did some diagnosis and we decided that there's a vacuum leak somewhere in the intake manifold. So today we're making this video to help you identify the vacuum leak. How do you go about finding a vacuum leak? So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so you see here is the engine bay, and I'm gonna try to walk you through. So when you say vacuum leak, what that means is you first have to find the MAF sensor, which is a mass airflow sensor. In this car, it happened to be right here. So what vacuum leak means is there is an air going in from one of these places. This is the intake manifold, and this is the air box. There's a MAP sensor, and then this hose pushes the air right here. There's a butterfly valve right here, and the air goes in. Now along the way there are lots of little places where air can get in, like here, for example, here. The PCV valve is right here on this stage. There might be some other connection under this this valve cover, or sorry, the intake cover. So first thing you want to do is kind of visually inspect all the hoses that are kind of going into the intake manifold. Anything that's connected here, the breather tube or vacuum tube, anything that's kind of cracked or loose or things like that, you're looking for. And after that, there's some trick you can use. So we have a propane tank here. So I'll just kind of talk about what we're gonna do, and then we'll do it, and we'll try to record it in the fast forward mode. So after we inspect all the hoses, the other thing you can do is take this propane tank and turn on the propane just a little bit, and then you kind of point the propane near any opening, right? See, this opening, that opening, anything that's kind of going in the intake, right? This tube, and kind of and then while you do that, you want to connect. You gotta. So we have, this is a cable coming from our OBD port inside, and we have OBD reader. We're gonna hook that up as well. That actually reads the live data, right? So we are using this AUTEL OBD reader. I mean, there are a lot of them. You can use any of them, and you can kind of connect this up, and while you point the hose at any opening, what you're watching for is your short-term trim number. At idle, our short-term trim number is kind of running at around 40%, which is quite high. And so there's a vacuum leak. So as we put the propane near a potential vacuum leak, we're basically adding more fuel, so to speak, into the engine. So the trim the engine needs to account for has to go down. So when you put a propane somewhere and it sucks it into the engine, the trim drops momentarily, and that's your kind of clue that you're looking for, right? So that location where you just pointed the propane hose has a vacuum leak, right? And so you kind of go around all the places, and that's how you can find all the leaks. And there could be more than one leak. So if you find a leak, just don't stop there. Check every opening, every hose that going into intake to find more leak points. If after propane test you can't find the leak, then your last resort is going to be either this PCV valve or the gonna be not working. That's one possible reason. The other reason could be your valve or intake cover gaskets might be leaking, or you once we open this cover, you will see the injector, all the injector for every cylinder has also an O-ring that might be leaking as well. So then you're kind of on your own. So now we're gonna connect the OBD reader
and start the car, and we're trying to watch the live data, especially the short-term trim like we talked about. And there was a little cover on the intake manifold. We took that off, and now we bring the short-term trim on the screen. We turn on the propane, and we're trying to inject propane while watching the short-term trim. If it drops, then we know there is a vacuum leak wherever our propane pipe is pointing at. So we found one leak at the front of the intake manifold, there's a little metal tube coming out of the intake manifold. And then we also found another leak near the air pipe coming out of air box. So we thought the pipe was loose, so we kind of took up the pipe and tightened it. And then we also plugged in one of the leak we found with a little masking tape temporarily, and then we started testing for more leaks. And then we found another one right close to the air hose tube. So initially we thought it was a tube air hose leaking, but it wasn't the case. It was another tube coming out of the butterfly valve. All right, so we are closing our vacuum leak video. So here is what we ended up doing. Okay, so we thought it was leaking here initially, then we suspected this boss, and we sealed that off. We sealed that boss off, right? And after those, we still had a vacuum leak, and it was kind of somewhere around here. So then we said, okay, this gasket might be broken. Well, we opened this 4-bolt, 1, 2, 3, 4 bolt of this butterfly valve, took it out, and this particular gasket you see right here, it was actually installed 180 degree wrong way. So it wasn't sealing this side of the butterfly valve. So it turned out to be a very simple fix for the major vacuum leak we had. And after that, we checked the live data, and our short-term trim dropped down to almost 10%, and our long-term trim over time dropped to 0. So a 10% trim on a short-term with a 0 long-term trim is not a whole lot of vacuum leak. So we're gonna stop at this point, and we're gonna call it a day. It's good enough. I mean, it's an old car. It's a 11-12-year-old car, so we're not gonna be able to find every vacuum leak, but this is gonna get us close enough to have a very smooth engine idling and pass the inspection, which is what we started this thing with. So that's all for this video. I hope this video helped you, and if it does, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.